everyone, it's me, Krista. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. If not, welcome for the very first time to my little art corner here on YouTube. Today is day 15 of Inktober, and today's prompt is Legend. The first idea I got for this was basically King Arthur and Excalibur, or the sword in the stone. I was thinking of doing either this, which is a sword in the stone, or doing a hand coming out of the water to insinuate like the Lady of the Lake holding up the sword. I decided to do the sword in the stone because it involves no people, A, B, it's a still life, and C, I might have to kind of insinuate a background. I'm intentionally trying to do stuff I normally would not do. The last time I drew a sword, I was probably in middle school, so this is interesting. I did the sketch using a pencil that came in this month's Art Snacks box, and it is a General's Semi-Hex drawing pencil, number 497, and it is 2H. Works pretty well, nice and light, seems like a decent drawing pencil. I am still using the same paper that I have been using for most of Inktober. That is the Strathmore toned mixed media paper in blue. I like using it because it gives me a mid-tone to work from. I also just like how the final results look. I am outlining what I already put down in pencil with a Pentel Art Hybrid Technica pen, and it's a 0.4mm one. I have a 0.2 one as well. I like the 0.4 one better. It doesn't skip as much as the 0.2 one does. Since my Speedball white ink has officially dried out, I am switching over to the Winsor and Newton ink in white. I'm going to play with this one more. I'm going to leave my Liquitex acrylic ink aside and use it later. I already know I like that one. I'm going to try to play with some stuff that I've gotten in my 2 boxes for October and try not to just stick with what I know I like. We're going to play around a little bit. I wanted to add a lot of light to this piece because I feel like in every single depiction you see of this enchanted fancy sword that there's a bunch of light all around it. It's a wash in light. It's probably supposed to represent purity of heart of the people who can pull it out of the stone or something or other. So at this point I am just using the white ink in very specific areas and getting all of that laid down first, and we will add the black ink later. I am also fighting with this one to keep it lighter than some of the previous ones. As I said in the last video, I have been using a lot of darkness in a lot of pieces, so I'm trying to pull back on it just a little bit. Here I'm starting to add in some black ink. I am deciding to try out the Sennelier Abstract Acrylic ink in Carbon Black. I do have to admit something. This was darker and not as transparent as I thought it was going to be. Because I didn't care for their acrylic paint and that was super watery, I thought the acrylic ink was going to be not quite as pigmented and super watery. I was wrong. This ink is super, super dark. I was wrong. This ink exceeded my expectations and I really enjoyed trying it out. I'm definitely going to be using it more. Now I'm adding in some of the darker elements, such as the corner where the light is not hitting everything. And I'll be going over that tree branch in some dark black so it's more silhouetted. There is a point in this drawing where I start over-inking the sword itself, and I had a little bit of a moment. I feel like sometimes when you're creating something, you like how it looks, but you think you need to adjust it. And then you do something and you're like, no, I want to go back. I had one of those moments during this drawing. And that is the fun part about ink, is when you set down certain lines, if you do it too thick or too thin, especially if you do it too thick, it changes the look of the entire piece. But that comes later in this drawing. It's not quite here yet. For the leaves on the tree, I still wanted to go with the really subtle impressionistic look where it insinuates leaves, but I'm not drawing out each individual one. I'm more just stippling them. I do something similar with the blades of grass that I add both behind and in front of the rock. And those are just little black lines I add in. And as always, I jump around the entire piece, adjusting little areas at a time. I am really bad about focusing on just one section for a long period of time. For some reason, I have to jump around that whole piece. I actually use a fountain pen for parts of this one as well, and using the same abstract acrylic ink by Sennelier. I have no idea what kind of dip pen this is. There is nothing on it. It is just a random one that I have. I didn't use it for a lot of the piece, but I did play around with it for certain sections to see how I like it. Because I do love that Copic pen that I got so much. I figured I would try to play with an actual dip pen. And I don't hate it nearly as much as I thought I would. I thought for some reason that dip pens were super difficult to control, and it definitely was not that difficult. In fact, if I had only outlined the sword using the dip pen, I wouldn't have had the issue with the lines being too thick later. Go figure. I did try to use the Copic pen for like 2 seconds here in a moment. I decided against it though. I instead pulled in the Marabu Fineliner Graphix pens that came in that 4-piece set that I have. And this is one of the thinner ones. I don't remember exactly which one it is, but I am just going over some lines with it, deepening them up a little bit. And pretty soon I switched to the brush pen in order to outline that branch a little bit more and make a couple of darker leaves. And soon I switched to the white Posca pen and a white gel pen in order to pull out highlights a bit further. I like having the very bright highlights to help out. And I switched between the 2 white items, the paint marker and the gel pen, and the black gel pen. Just switching them out and defining certain areas. I also use the white Posca pen to pull out some extra highlights in the little rays of light I have going on in the background. Adding brighter highlights to the rock. Using that fancy old Posca pen again for that, and I'm pulling in a fine liner to add a couple of little lines for texture and to outline the top of that rock a little bit more. Here I bring in that Kuretake marker that I've been using for a lot of these projects, and just going over areas where I wanted some thicker, darker lines happening. I have a paint marker dotting problem. I added some dots around the sword to insinuate its magic, because it's magical. It's magical and legendary. Although anytime I say legendary now, I think of legs and dairy. Darn you, Drag Race. Darn you, Reading Challenge. Darn you, Jujubee. And here is about the time when I should have just stopped messing with it. It looked okay. Seemed like I didn't spend a lot of time on it. But at this point, it looked pretty nice. It doesn't end up looking terrible, but I like the line work at this point better than I will in a moment. But if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn, and if you don't make mistakes, you don't grow. Each mistake is an opportunity to learn something from it. And also, it gives you an opportunity to think on your feet to find solutions. And about this point is where I start playing around with how the sword looks a little bit too much. I start going in with that black gel pen and creating some darker lines and trying to alter the shape in tiny ways, and it makes a very big difference. I do start pulling in the white gel pen to add back in a couple of highlights. And I pull in one of those Marabu Fineliners to go over the sword in black again and to alter the shape of what's going on a little bit more. What's starting to happen is the lines are getting way too thick and the highlights are too bright against that black. So it stands out a lot more, it looks a lot harsher, and it doesn't fit in as well with the piece as it did originally, in my opinion. I played with it more off camera, and I was able to alleviate some of the darkness of the lines by adding a white gel pen around it. This did help soften it up quite a bit and pull back on the thickness and harshness of those lines. Well, that's it for this video. If you liked it, please hit that like button. If you have any comments, questions, feelings, concerns, or you just want to let me know what you're doing this Inktober and what you're using, let me know in that comment section down below. If you want to see more videos like this, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day or night to watch this video and listen to me ramble about art stuff. I look forward to hearing from you guys soon, and you'll definitely be hearing from me soon. Bye, everybody!